Well, guys, Claude Fable 5 is out and it is next level, says this Search Engine Journal article. Jamie Marsland of Automatic gave Fable 5 a screenshot and a URL, and the AI built a fully editable WordPress block theme. And you can see it right there. I mean, it's not bad for a one shot, gotta say. And yeah, we know that Anthropic has been raving about Fable 5, saying it has some of the strongest gains in software engineering and coding in general. But the one area I wanted to test it in is content, because AI content is everywhere. It's been everywhere for the last almost 3 years now with ChatGPT. And there's so much of it that's just categorized as AI slop, where it's the same generic AI sentences that you hear over and over again. And there's really no nuance or originality to it. So the hope here is, as these models get more advanced, like Fable 5, are we going to start getting these professional human level outputs? That's not to say that previous models weren't professional, but more human sounding outputs. That's really what I wanted to put to the test here. And kind of the next level of that is, can it be good enough for an AI detection tool to not recognize it? In my last video, I talked about this tool. I heard about it from Matthew Woodward, really talented SEO professional. And he raves about this as being the best AI detection tool on the market. It grades pages very, very harshly at times. It scrutinizes them, to say the least. But I think that's important if you're trying to reach that level of content that's not going to get hit by the latest Google update. And it's going to not sound like, your typical AI slop that you hear out there. So for the purpose of testing, I'm going to ask Claude Fable to write me 100 words of human sounding content, right? And I'm going to plug it into this tool and I'm going to see what it grades it as. And really, I just want to get a sense of if I direct Claude Fable a certain direction and say, we're trying to essentially beat these AI detection tools. I'm just curious as to how it would handle that and what the output would look like when I try to run it. So I'm only going to do 100 words. Fable is very expensive. I don't want to burn through too many credits in my Claude session right now, but you need at least 100 words for this tool to work. So I'm going to try that really quick, and we're just going to pick any random topic and give it a shot here. So let's see what happens. All right, so here we are in Claude, and I'm going to change this model to Fable 5, running on the high effort. I'm going to assume that high effort is the default for Fable 5, which naturally, the higher the effort now, it's going to consume more tokens, more usage, but that's to be expected. And we can see here's the kind of the disclaimer that it's going to use 2x the amount of usage as Opus, but we know that, that's fine. So all I'm going to say is, write me a short form article. We'll say between 100 and 120 words, keep it very short. It's not really even an article at that point, but it's more for testing here. The topic is photo. I don't know much about that, but we'll see what Fable knows. Make sure this content sounds 100% human written, and it would pass any AI detection test. So we're going to keep it very simple here and see what it gives us. All right, so I just finished, and this is something interesting to see here. So when you look at the thought process of Claude in this instance, I actually misspelled beat. I put B because that's oops. But it's smart enough to know that that's a misspelling. And here's the response here. I think is really interesting. It says, I can write a natural sounding article about photo without guaranteeing it'll evade detection tools. So that's a really important thing. And I think there's probably some legal backing to that, some legal reasoning behind that, why they would say that. So it didn't promise it. So we can plug this in, and if it works, it works. But to give them credit, they didn't promise it. So we can't hold them to it, right? So let's paste it in here and go over to the scan button, and we'll see what happens. We'll see the result here. And the moment of truth is here. Likely AI, 100% confident. So not a huge surprise. Like I said, this is a very sensitive tool. I mean, even human writing at times will trigger a little bit of an AI perception. This tool is just very, very sensitive to how you use words. A couple things that are interesting about this, though, when you look at the sentence by sentence breakdown, this is what I really like about Originality.ai. It highlights every section based on the likelihood that it's written by AI. And I really like that because you can go through and you can kind of decipher why they might have come to that conclusion. And you can see these first couple sections here are actually fairly low on the AI generation likelihood. This is 100% as you get here towards the end, but look at the title. It's only 71%. I mean, that's still fairly high, but it's not 100%. 71% here, 71% here. This is the most interesting line though. So this one here, plants take 3 simple ingredients, sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide, and turn them into the sugar that keeps them alive. This scored as 64% likely not AI generated. And actually, that's a very pleasant result. I was not expecting any of this to register as likely not AI generated. I've experimented with this already on some of the other LLM models like ChatGPT, and it's almost always 100% or 90% above and above. So the fact that Claude Fable produced some human-generated content here is a really good sign. And anyone who's doing website work, SEO work, you want to make sure your content is completely natural. I know that there's a tendency to just churn out 50, 100, 200 pages of AI-generated content. That's really a poor decision at this point. You're probably going to get your website knocked for that in the long term. Even though it might work out this week, it might work out in the near term, but long term, it's a bad strategy. So, I'm always figuring out ways to try to boost efficiency when it comes to content creation. And if there's an LLM, if there's a model, like Fable 5 potentially, and maybe the next iteration of Claude Opus, that are able to produce content that sounds more human in nature like this, even though I know it's one line, but you could extrapolate this out and, let's say that you have 3,000 words of content here. This line within this content, this line might represent about maybe 15% of this entire 100 words, which is not super low. If you have 3,000 words, that's going to be multiple hundred words, right? The fact that this sounds pretty human is a really good sign, because now it's going to make the editor's job easier. If you can use a model that does some of that work for you from the offset, and you're not having to go through the entire piece to change every single line to make it sound less AI generated, then that's a win in my book. And even though the costs are higher for Fable 5, I think the amount of time that it could save you by being able to create more human sounding content is immense. You're still going to need an editor. You're still going to have to probably rewrite a lot of this, especially the 100% AI generated content. Definitely want to rewrite that and rework it. But this is a positive sign, and I'm honestly pleasantly surprised by it. And I'm going to run a lot more tests to see what it's capable of. I haven't really dug into the coding part of it yet, but I know that's awesome. And I know that everyone's raving about that. So I'm super excited to get into it. But yeah, Claude Fable 5 is here, and it looks to be the real deal. From a content writing standpoint, I didn't expect the world, but this is a really positive sign that it got this line right. I know it doesn't sound like a huge deal, but trust me, this tool is very, very difficult to not sound AI generated. And I've had pages that I've uploaded here that the whole thing was 100% AI generated. So the fact that this isn't 100% is fantastic. Anyway, that's all we got in today's video, but I just wanted to run through that and see what happened. And there you go. So like always, if you enjoyed the content today, leave a like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.